Ever since I read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, I have wanted to be financially independent, which Tim says means being able to choose how you spend your time more or less independently of money. But I've not had a plan to get there. But over the last few months, I've ticked off all of the simple personal finance goals that I'd set. Number 1, clearing off my overdraft and credit card debt from university and law school. 2nd, building up a little pot of money as an emergency fund, just in case the worst were to happen, so that I could survive for at least 3 to 6 months. 3rd, building up an additional pool of money for a deposit for a flat or a house. And 4th, getting Menos, mine and Beth's business, to a place where it won't need another significant injection of our personal money for a while. So yeah, hitting those 4 big goals at the age of 27 now means I'm kind of in what I feel like is a new phase of my own personal finance, and I kind of need to come up with a bit more of a concrete plan as to what I'm doing with my money every month. That's meant that over the last couple of weeks, I have been on an absolutely massive binge of all of the audiobooks and blinks of personal finance classics in order to try and work out what my plan for financial independence should be. So my plan is to hopefully bring you along for the journey as I try to move towards financial independence over the next few months and years. But for now, the main thing I took from every single one of these books pretty much was that the first step should always be to work out where you are right now. What is your current net worth? And if I'm being completely honest, I do genuinely feel like really cringy making this video, talking about this, even just doing this exercise. But I do honestly believe that it's a hugely important exercise to work out where you are right now to move towards financial freedom, and even just to get a grip on your current finances. And look, I mean, like, it will become very clear in a moment that the Forbes rich list is in very little imminent danger from me, but there is one fundamental reason for doing this. And that is that step 2 in pretty much every single one of these books is to work out what the future net worth you need is, i.e. what pool of money do you need in order to make passive income return on that investment in order to basically cover your monthly expenses, allowing you to live, if you choose, off nothing but that return on investment. But before working out what that future net worth looks like, you kind of need to ascertain where you are right now. What's pretty nuts is that when I was planning this video, I remembered that I have this notebook that I've been keeping, and I'm pretty embarrassed to say this, since I was 16, charting my net worth. So I'm gonna share those figures that little old me started recording age 16 when I looked something like this. Harry Styles, eat your heart out. And just so we're completely clear on what net worth means, I'm going to be taking all of my liabilities, so student loans, credit card debt, any other loans, then adding to that all of my assets. So that's stuff like equity you might have in your house, of which I have none because I do not own any houses or even a house. And then other assets like the stuff you own, cash you have at the bank, investments you've made, and that gives you then a grand total of your net worth. I like personally to start with the liabilities because I think it focuses my mind on the bad bits before then getting back to 0 with my assets and then hopefully past 0 with my net worth. Okay, so starting way back in 2012, my liabilities were somewhat unsurprisingly 0 because you can't borrow money and you can't have a credit card or any of that bad stuff when you're 16. And my assets were a grand total of £681.76, which was the sum total of birthday and Christmas money that I'd managed not to splurge on trying to get a girlfriend or PlayStation. And there is something really truly quite cute or delusional about me feeling the need to record this in a notebook. Fast forward a year and a half to 2013, just after my 18th birthday, my liabilities were still 0. Don't worry, the debt is yet to come. And my assets were £9,071.14, which was the result of working for 2 summers pretty hard. And then my dad also gave me a lump sum of, I think, about £5,000 or maybe £6,000 to put towards a car. I was a very lucky boy. So yeah, that is just pure having parents who had saved for me and gave me money at that age. And I then went and used that money to buy a car, which I am pumped to say is still on my balance sheet today. I still love my beautiful Volkswagen Fox. Okay, October 2014, I'm very excited to be off to Cambridge, and I had about 6 months earlier released my first ever book, Exam Grade Booster GCSE French. And I'd actually managed to do a pretty good job of selling that to schools across the country. So student debt hadn't yet kicked in, so liabilities still 0. Assets up to £15,608.23, which was the same as my net worth, though things are looking up for Liam. Fast forward now to 2017, and I've clearly been enjoying / working so hard at university that I haven't been bothered to think about my net worth, which seems like a pretty normal thing for students not to worry about. And I decided to make another record while I'm on my year abroad in Lyon, Madrid, and Peru. And this is where things start to take a little bit of a turn for the worse, because my liabilities with student debt are now £33,000. I have by this point though released 4 more books, and things have been going actually pretty decently. I'd also worked in summers, so probably making like several £1,000s a year, meaning that my assets had managed to get up to £35,712.47, leaving me with a net worth of just £2,712.47. By then, the start of law school in January 2019, my finances are looking pretty bleak. I have £51,000 of student debt, assets of £25,108.54 because I had invested about £10,000 into my previous business, Study Mojo, which ultimately ended up failing, meaning my net worth was minus nearly £26,000. A year and a half later, in the middle of 2020, on my second day of work, COVID has started, and I look at my student loan balance and my liabilities are now £59,138. My assets, though, are way up at nearly £38,000 because I've been paid a little bit for being on the LPC by my law firm, and also started this YouTube channel, which had started to bring in a little bit of money. So I'm now slightly less negative at around minus £21,000 net worth. But a year into my career, 2021, I have now been making a pretty decent salary of £48,000 a year, and also my YouTube channel has really picked up. I managed to pay off a little bit of my student loan and pretty frugal living at home for about the first 4 months of my career, as well as a few videos that really went pretty viral for me at that point. My YouTube channel had started to bring in relatively significant income for me, meaning my assets rose to just shy of £80,000, giving me a net worth of around £27,500. So yeah, that's the history of my student loan dominated net worth, thanks to 16-year-old Liam and my pink notebook. But now, before I take you through my current net worth, I want to tell you about a key component of that net worth, which is shares in contemporary art, which I invest in through Masterworks, today's sponsor. With UK workers facing considerable real-term pay drops, soaring food costs, and interest rates continuing to rise, it's not easy to feel like you're moving towards your financial goals. But as tough as it is, clearly right now, the habits that help you smartly save and invest your money are more important than they've ever been. So I'm always looking for unique opportunities that will enable me to build a diversified portfolio of assets that have the potential to grow in value over the long term without me needing to spend lots of time learning about complex investment decisions. So when I came across Masterworks, I was really keen to start using the platform, which I now love. They've been a sponsor for a while now, with many of you having signed up to Masterworks since I started featuring them. Now, contemporary art has offered an annual return of 14% over the last 25 years, as of December 2020, versus a 9.5% annual return from the S&P 500. Plus, historically, art has shown an even stronger performance at times of high inflation, and on top of that, contemporary art has a negative correlation with other asset classes. The only problem, it normally costs millions of dollars to add blue chip art to your portfolio. Well, that is until now. Masterworks analyzes millions of data points to identify which paintings seem most likely to rise in value, acquires the painting, and breaks it up into shares for you to invest in. Masterworks has so far offered over 200 paintings on their platform with 650,000 users, and the performance of their investments to date speak for itself. As a result, offerings like Banksy can sell out in minutes, and there is a waitlist to access Masterworks, but my viewers can skip it by clicking the link in the description. So right now, my only liability is my student debt. I do have a couple of credit cards, but I pay those off. And unfortunately, despite me actually paying quite a lot towards it over the last year and a half, my student loan has actually gone up pretty much entirely because the interest rate on it is just really quite high. But my assets look a whole lot rosier than they did. And hopefully those historic figures show that no matter your situation, you can gradually over time improve your finances and improve your net worth, which is sort of the point of this video. I'm going to start off with cash or cash equivalent, so money in savings accounts, is around £97,000. And the reason that figure is so high relative to my other asset classes is that I am saving at the moment for number one, a house or flat deposit, and number two, a wedding. I then have around £18,500 of general investments, which is basically just shares in an S&P 500 index fund tracker, and then second, shares in paintings through Masterworks. I also still have a tiny bit of crypto included in that. It is still a pretty small amount because I'm slowly drip feeding it, dollar cost averaging into the market and into pieces of art periodically in the ratio that I feel comfortable with. But I'll go into kind of how I'm thinking about investments in another video. So yeah, do let me know down in the comments if that's something you're interested in. I then have £28,000 invested in Menos and another £2,500 in another crowd-funded business that I invested in. And finally, I have a devilish £17,666 in my pension, which, will basically just stay there and not be used or touched until I want to sail off into the sunset. And as a very quick final point, I don't personally include like most of my possessions like this camera or the TV or big things that I own that I could sell for money in the category of assets. That's just because I have like no intention of selling this camera, and so it's kind of a sunk cost in a way. It means that my assets are probably a bit lower than the reality, but I think that's probably the better way to have it. So that brings the grand total of my assets to £164,412.96, meaning my current net worth is £111,265.39, which compared with 2019 is a year-on-year increase of an average of around £35,000, which is really healthy given what my salary's been. It's been massively helped by the fact I've been running this YouTube channel too. So yeah, I've really found doing this really helpful in getting a sense on where my current financial health is. I really do strongly recommend that you start tracking your net worth, getting a sense on whether it's moving up or down, whether you're spending too much, you need to be more frugal, whether you're comfortable with the current kind of level of liabilities that you have. And I just think having a greater awareness of where you're currently at, what your current financial position is, just means that you're that much more able to make decisions in a well-informed manner. So yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed this video and got some value out of it. Do let me know what you thought down in the comments, and I really look forward to speaking again very soon. Thanks so much for watching.